Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on the Yahweh's holy Sabbath. And we know that we have a special Sabbath, the Day of Atonement, which is called the holiest day of the year. And it is called that for a reason. Just dealing with the power of what atonement means. It's interesting, though, when you talk about atonement, being the holiest day of the year. This is not the day that you'll find people breaking their necks to get to the sanctuary. You know, see, we got other days that are more well known. You know, so at some point we have to ask ourselves, what is important? Now you know you can understand. You know, we have members that are spread all over, so. To come on a thing where it's in the middle of the week and then they got to go back to work and then try to come back, that's a lot to ask. That's understandable. But just throughout this entire walk, you know, you witness the importance level because we basically put Passover in the place of Easter. So, you know, Easter was our thing growing up. You know, you always got you some new suits, you know, and, you know, Mama made a big deal out of getting you some new suits, you know, around Easter. So then you come in the Word and you find out, okay, so Passover is, you know, that same time. So then you find people put their Easter type celebration upon Passover. So they'll, you know, go all the way out. There are people that go, you know, states over to deal with Passover, and will not put the emphasis on one of the more important things. Because when you deal with something as far as Passover, that's one thing. But you have to look at the way Yahweh placed even the holy days. You know, we are so busy celebrating at Passover that we have been passed over. But understand, the same people who got passed over also died. I don't think we caught that. The same people who were passed over in Egypt went in the wilderness and died. So there's Passover, and then there's atonement. See, they were not atoned. So being passed over, even though the destroyer didn't kill them when it killed the Egyptians, that still wasn't the time to celebrate. We don't really understand which things that we are supposed to be celebrating. That atonement is a very important thing, but it's not the thing that man puts emphasis on. You're not going to flip through the channels and find television shows on atonement. And you flip through the channels, you're going to find, you know, Passion of the Christ, you're going to find Easter, you're going to find Passover too. You find all kind of television programs about those things. But the thing that is connected to you getting right with your Elohim, you don't really find a whole bunch about that. But it makes sense, since Lucifer is in charge of making sure which things get put out in the forefront. So the last thing he wants to do is to put the stuff in the forefront that may actually help you. So that's something that we have to consider. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, that shall be a day of atonement. It shall be in a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall you celebrate your Sabbath. Now, when you deal with how the heathen, even the Hebrew Christians keep this, they don't even understand from even unto even. They just think, you know, they can have it any time. They really don't deal with any of the instructions that we're given. And if you're not going to observe any clean and unclean, then it doesn't matter what time you go in anyway. So we have to understand why the world does what it does, but we have to also understand why we do what we do. Atonement or reconciliation is a thing that we all believe that we will have plenty of time to work on. The truth is, time is not promised to any of us. As it is written, if the good man of the house had known what time the robbers were coming, he would have stayed and secured his house. Such is the manner of the coming of man. He will come at a time when you think not. We all consider that as being one event at one time, and we all have until that particular time to get right. But let's consider for a moment. What if he's dealing with a particular set forth time in your life? Not in all life, just in your life. Then consider that some of us could have already missed the cutoff point to make certain things right, yet having no idea that our fates have already been sealed. Let's read. We're going to begin tonight's sermon in Genesis chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to start at verse 19. See, that belief that we have all of this time is what allows certain things to keep going on the way that they go. You'll find that sometimes when we believe we have the most time, this is when we are the latest. The people who are closest to the job be the latest to get there. Because they keep thinking that they have more time. And when we operate like that, we are putting ourselves, our salvation in jeopardy because we believe that we have more time to get this right. Genesis chapter 25, and let's start that at verse 19.
And these are the generations of Esau, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Esau. And Esau was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian, at Padam Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Esau entreated Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh.
Now, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, Esau concerned himself with the more important matters, all right, to him at this point. She was barren. He entreated Yahweh for her. She conceived. Now she's having a struggle within this pregnancy. Now she's entreating Elohim about this. Why didn't her husband pray to Yahweh about this? So the beginning of this whole thing goes this way. She's the one who's praying about the struggle that's going on inside her. Was that not important to him? He prayed when she didn't have a child. But once she got a child, maybe he thought his job is done. You know, we as men, we have that thing. You know, if the light's on, okay, do you have a place to stay? Well, shut up then. I don't hear nothing about all this right here. You got a place to stay, right? I don't care about on Netflix. But it turns out this was a pretty important thing. See, what's important to her, Yahweh also thought it was important too. But you have to ask yourself, why didn't he pray about this? Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in your womb.
Now, because he didn't pray about it, he's not getting the answer. She is. So you look at this situation and the first couple times you read it, you say, you know what? She seems a little sneaky and deceptive. She on some different kind of stuff. Wait a minute. What was his prayer about the turmoil that was going on inside his wife's body? Go ahead.
And two manner of people shall be separated from your bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Uh-huh.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Esau was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Esau loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Now, maybe there was a little animosity here because he didn't ask. Because you have to ask yourself, after all this time, you know, she held this secret. Go ahead.
You know, we were talking about the food thing again. Hey, here we go with the food, right?
Right. And I'll just, you know, I'm gonna, you know, go ahead and put it out there. We already preparing to break the fast tomorrow. And we got some lentils. First one of you knuckles sell your birthright for a pot of beans, I'm putting you out of here. Go ahead, bro.
And Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray you, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
Right. This shows you how in Israel you get a nickname. See, what folks, you know, will say is, you know, black people always come up with these things. Yeah, we just like our God. Let me tell you something. Around Israel, you can do something one time and end up, and you got a nickname. You might want to be careful what you do around us. You know, hey, you might have a bad bladder day and pee-pee. You might be Pee-Pee Jones for the rest of your life. You did that one time. Nobody will ever remember your name. You mean Daryl? No, you talking about Pee-Pee Jones. Daryl Jones? Pee-Pee Jones? Man, stop calling me Pee-Pee, man. I did that one time in kindergarten. I'm telling you, man, this is what we do. Here it is in the beginning of the book. Not only do we do it, Yahweh do it too. Then Yahshua did it. These are son of born origins. What? These sons of thunder. Well, why you just didn't call them by their name, Yahshua? Why you got to call these dudes sons of thunder? Because that's what we do. Go ahead.
And Jacob said, sell me this day your birthright. And Esau said, behold, I'm at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright do to me?
Uh-huh.
And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Thus he despised his birthright. It didn't mean anything to him. You know, it takes the right situation and circumstance to prove what something means to you. Anybody can stand before you and say they care. Anybody can stand in front of you and say that they love you. When situation and circumstance presents itself, how will they operate? Now, he looks like this means something to him. Let's go to Genesis chapter 27. You'll find that oftentimes the way in which we deal with things does not agree with the display that's being made. Genesis 27, and we're going to start that at verse 30.
And it came to pass, as soon as Esau had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out of the presence of Esau his father.
Now, this is after the mother has put forth together the plan because of the information that was given to her by Yahweh that she entreated Yahweh for. See, when you first go by this, you wonder, why didn't Yahweh give that information to him. It's a very, very interesting thing that's happening here. Go ahead.
That Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting, and he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that your soul may bless me. And Esau, his father, said unto him, Who are you? And he said, I'm your son, your firstborn Esau. And Esau trembled very exceedingly and said, Who? Where is he that has taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before you came, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed.
Okay, now pause right here for a second. It says that Esau loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, right? But as he has gotten older, his eyes are dim. Now, did he like the venison because it came from him? Because mama done cooked something and he can't tell that it ain't Esau's. See, baby girl got skills. Baby girl got skills. He think this Esau's venison. No, it ain't. This ain't here. So much, in fact, that he done ate it and has already issued out the blessing. But it said that this is why he loved him. Mm-hmm. You mean you love him so much for this thing, but you can't tell that that ain't that thing? Go ahead, bro.
And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Your brother came with subtlety, and has taken away your blessing. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright.
That's a lie. He sold it. But see, herein lies your point of reckoning. If the good man of the house had known when the robber was coming, he would have stayed and secured his house. When he sold his birthright, he thought he'd have plenty of time to get it back. But this is not happening at the end of his life. See, there's certain things that we keep thinking that, I got, as long as I'm living, I got time to deal with certain things. There may be certain things that he already done cut off your time on. No, his opportunity to deal with that birthright that he sold, oh, the bill is coming due right now. I don't care if he live 100 years after this day. He ain't never gonna get this back. Now consider what that is in your own life. That you waiting and thinking, I got plenty enough time to get this together. His bill is about to come due right now. Go ahead.
And behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved the blessing for me? And Esau answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him your master, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto you, my son?
So, in other words, Yahweh knew that he would give all of that blessing to Esau. Yahweh let the situation go so he'd give all the blessings unto the one that he wasn't going to give it to, and that's the one who was supposed to have it. Go ahead.
And Esau said unto his father, Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept.
Now he crying. But understand something. The bill has come due. There's no more opportunity for atonement. It's done. Once he shows up and issues his decree, it's done. Ain't no going back and changing this birthright situation. It is over. But this is not the end of his life. He lives many, 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 many years after this. We keep thinking that as long as we living, we have an opportunity for atonement. You have an opportunity for atonement for some things. There are some things that if you don't take care of them, you will never get the opportunity again. And that, my friend, you're going to have to deal with before that judgment seat. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at it, and what did he say? What benefit is this birthright? So he
Uh-huh.
haphazardly dealt with it. But like you said, had he been thinking about it, he could have been working every day trying to figure out a way. All right, bro. Hey, man, I need to pay you off for my birthright. I need
Right.
that back.
Right.
Let's work something out.
Right. It didn't mean anything until it meant something. See, now the father about to pass away. Now he stole it. Wait a minute, he stole it? That's not how I remember that transaction. Go ahead.
And Esau his father answered and said unto him, Behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by your sword shall you live, and shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you shall have dominion, that you shall break his yoke from off your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob.
Right. So then we see when it comes down to certain things, there is a time stamp put on those things. And we have to consider in our own life, what is the birthright situation that is in your life? Let's go to Numbers chapter 14. Numbers chapter 14, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moshe and against Aaron.
Now, this tells you the power of the story that is being presented. See, some people don't really understand that they bring in damnable heresies when they come and bring their versions of things. And they don't really consider that it's evil. Here is a situation where the children of Israel have gone to see some things, and some of them come back with a story. You have situations like that, and we don't even consider that this is evil. So people will come into the congregation and they'll say this, that, and the third. That's not the way that happened. And not consider how many other people are being destroyed by that damnable heresy. Go ahead.
And the whole congregation said unto them, Would Elohim that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would Elohim we had died in this wilderness?
Right. So now, because of the version of the story that they are hearing, now they're questioning their Elohim and the purpose for which he has given them. All right. The whole journey, all of that is now in question. Go ahead.
And wherefore has Yahweh brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, Let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Then Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Yephani, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes. And they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, The land which we passed through to search it is an exceeding good land. If Yahweh delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it us, a land which flows with milk and honey.
Right. But because they have a captive mindset, that's too great for them. They can't think that high. Go ahead.
Only rebel you not against Yahweh, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stone them with stones.
Consider that. They are so afraid of doing this thing that they are ready to stone Yahweh's people. The people that's trying to convince them. Just so you understand how Israel operates. The very one that's trying to convince them off their stand, they want to kill them. Go ahead.
And the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, How long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me? for all the signs which I have showed among them.
Right. With all of these signs, why are they still questioning me? You see the fire, you see the cloud, you see all of these things. You've seen that I've talked with you. You've seen all of these things. Why are you still questioning me? How much more you got to see? Now we have to sit back and ask ourselves that question in our own lives. See, there's no fire and cloud, but do you see Yahweh moving in your life? But see, the stuff doesn't happen zip-tang like that. Are you able to pay attention and see the movement? Go ahead.
I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of you a greater nation and mightier than they. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that you, Yahweh, are among this people, that you, Yahweh, are seen face to face, and that your cloud stands over them, and that you goeth before them by daytime in a pillar of a cloud, and in a pillar of fire by night.
Right. Your fame has gone. They know that you do this. So if you pull back now, you're going to damage your holy name. Go ahead.
Now if you shall kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, because Yahweh was not able to bring this people into the land which he sware unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. And now, I beseech you, let the power of my Adonai be great, according as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving lawlessness and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the lawlessness of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech you, the lawlessness of this people according unto the greatness of your mercy, and as you have forgiven this people from Egypt even until now.
Right. Yahweh has been extremely merciful when it comes down to dealing with the children of Israel. And now Moshe stands in the breach and says all the things, the right things that need to be said. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said, I have pardoned according to your word, but as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it.
Stop. Pay attention. It says, right at verse 20, and Yahweh said, I have pardoned. There's forgiveness. I have pardoned. According to your word, I have pardoned. All right? But you know what? They're going to have to atone for it. Verse 22, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I have swear unto their fathers. Oh, I forgave them. But that bill coming due. See, we keep mixing all of that together. They are very connected when you deal with forgiveness, when you deal with being passed over, when you talk about being pardoned and then atonement. They're connected, but they're not the same thing. He said, oh, I'll pardon. But you ain't going to my land, though. No, it's time for that bill to come due. But there's still a blessing in that. See, the blessing in paying for this on this side, meaning that when they do wake up, they got a clean slate, though. See, that's something that we do not consider. We try to avoid all trouble at all costs. But you don't want to wake up with something on your account. So although this may be a bad situation for them, they were not physically able to see it on that side. When they wake up, they will. Go ahead, bro.
But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and has followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwelt in the valley. Tomorrow return you, and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation, which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, says Yahweh, as you have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me.
Right. So they have an opportunity to live and see the salvation of Yahweh. And now all they can do is hope that paying for this gives them that opportunity. Because they still have an opportunity, but they done lost this one to walk in. They ain't walking in. They can hope that this payment gives them the opportunity to walk in at the next opportunity. Go ahead.
Doubtless you shall not come into the land, concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. But your little ones, which you said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness. And your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms, until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. After the number of the days in which you search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall you bear your lawlessness, even 40 years, and you shall know my breach of promise.
So then you see that even that is a part of them having to atone for what they did. It took you how long? All right. A year for a day. They got to atone for this. Go ahead.
I, Yahweh, have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men which Moshe sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up a slander upon the land, even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land, died by the plague before Yahweh.
So they brought in the heresy. See, now you're dealing with a whole nother thing. Go ahead.
But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of the men that went to search the land, lived still. And Moshe told these sayings unto all the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning and gat them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and we'll go up onto the place which Yahweh has promised, for we have sinned.
So this whole thing was them denying to make the move that they were supposed to make. Now the judgment has been decreed. Now they want to follow the original instruction. Go ahead.
And Moshe said, Wherefore now do you transgress the commandment of Yahweh?
Hold on, man. Touch that boy right there. Touch him. Sit up, man. Go ahead.
But it shall not prosper. Go not up, for Yahweh is not among you, that you be not smitten before your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you are turned away from Yahweh, therefore Yahweh will not be with you.
You can't just decide when you're going to follow Yahweh. Once you have made the decision that you're not going to do what you're supposed to do at the time that it was given unto you, you can't come back later and make that decision. That choice is gone. You have lost that choice. Ain't no waiting, well, as long as I do this before my life ends. Because, we've been taught that Sunday morning thing where as long as you accept Jesus, right before you die, right when you get to your last breath, if you got enough to say, thank you, Jesus, then you can ride off into the sun. He gonna take care of you. So we take that, we learn the truth and still take those lies and say, okay, I can take this falsehood all to the point, but if I feel my end coming, I'm gonna jump out of the falsehood line. He's not gonna let you. Part of your judgment, you ain't gonna be able to get out the line. You're gonna stay in the line so long that you can't get out. Go ahead.
But they presumed to go up onto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and Moshe departed not out of the camp. Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites which dwelt in that hill, and smote them, and discomfited them, even unto Hormah.
Right. We sometimes act as though this situation of grace is not a period, not a grace period. We think we got grace life, so that we have all the time in the world to make whatever decisions we need to make and to make the changes that we need to make. So we keep operating and think that Yahweh is going to keep putting up with that until the day that we die. That's not how judgment works. Yahweh can place judgment on any time, any day. Now, you may not know about it for the next 25 years. That ain't his business. That ain't his business to show you that. He gave you all the opportunity. Judgment has been rendered. Now, you can go the next 25 years all you want. But you're going to deal with that from the day he uttered that judgment. Let's go to Luke chapter 16. And see, if we start to think like that, then days like this will become more important unto us. See, that's why they ain't important to you, because you keep thinking, I got another atonement. I would fix that, that situation, but I got another atonement. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll do it. Maybe 4 atonements from now. I'll go ahead and settle up with Larry. Okay. Luke chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 1 through 13.
And he said also unto his disciples, There was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called them, and said unto him, How is it that I hear this of you? Give an account of your stewardship, for you mayeth be no longer steward.
So he knows that the situation is coming. Now, in most situations, if you examine this situation, most of the time when people have gotten to the point where they've gotten caught, they want to do right by the person who caught them or the person who's in charge. So when you deal with the situation of Esau and Jacob, Esau want to cry out to the father who has the opportunity to give the blessing. Now you have this rich man who is about to call into question the individual who's running the house. But he doesn't go beg to the man who's in charge of the house. Pay attention. Go ahead.
You know what's interesting? He said, give an account of your stewardship. Okay, so come and tell me about your job and what you've done, right? As he say, it may be that you will no longer. He ain't say you was fired yet.
Right.
It may be a possibility, depending on what you show me and gotta say, that you may not have this job.
And somehow, some information then got back to the man of the house. He said that you're not doing what it is you're supposed to be doing. So where was these stories coming from? Go ahead.
Then the steward said within himself, What shall I do? For my master takes away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig, to beg I am ashamed.
See, the first thing is to understand and be honest with yourself. See, that's what a lot of times we are not. We are not honest with us. Be honest with you. Don't lie to you. See, lying to me is one thing, but lying to you is something altogether different. See, you need to not lie to you, okay? I can't dig. He not built like that. I'm not really strong. I've seen those guys that dig. They got muscles. I don't have those. All right, I can't dig. All right, and to beg, I am ashamed. I don't have enough outside or inside. I don't have enough inside of me to stand on the corner and beg, but I don't have enough outside of me to be strong enough to dig those holes. I've seen how they dig those holes. They've been busting them rocks. They be out there all day. I can't do that. when you consider what you're working with, it helps you make a better decision. But when you make the decision and you don't ever get to this point, I cannot dig, and to beg I am ashamed.
Then you say, well, you know, I mean, things gonna be all right, because I mean, look at me.
Oh, you ain't really had a real evaluation of yourself. See, now you about to get yourself in some mess. Because he is taking an evaluation of himself, this is going to help him make some decisions. See? So he says, I'm to beg, I am ashamed. He know he got vanity. He know he has a vanity problem. This is going to mess with my image if I go out here and beg. Now, this pushes him to the point of making a decision. If you don't do the right accounting of yourself, you're not going to make the decision right. Go ahead.
You know, brother, not even making the right accounting. He also had an understanding of what was said. A lot of us jump to conclusions because it's what somebody says. There's that thing called listening comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
Did you comprehend what was said to you? Okay, we had a brother recently. The man say, take the week.
Right.
Brother take his stuff and gone. Wait a minute, we sitting down. Wait a minute. What did the boss say? The boss said, take the rest of the week off.
Mm-hmm.
The brother snatch his stuff up and leave. Hey, bro, do you understand that that's not what the man said? Take the week off, get yourself together. If you take your stuff and leave, that means you quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that before with one of my boys. I'm like, the man said, we gonna see what's gonna happen this week. What'd you do? Well, I jumped in my car and came home. What is wrong with y'all?
That's that internal situation where the way he says, to beg I am ashamed. But once you get to certain parts, how does it make you move? And that's that question that you have to ask. Are you moving now because of one part? He had two parts in this assessment of himself. I cannot dig. So he just evaluated his physical ability, and to beg I am ashamed, his mental and spiritual ability. Okay? He just evaluated both of those things. So when somebody says something and you jump up and react, the only one that you took into consideration was how you felt. You didn't take into consideration anything else. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 4, I'm resolved what to do, that when I'm put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his master's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owe you unto my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50.
All right, now, this not gonna necessarily, look at where he's building friends. Instead of begging the house owner, see, this is what we do.
Or something about to happen, I'm finna go to the boss and tell him how nice I am.
That's not where he's building his situation. Go ahead.
Then said he to another, and how much owe you? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take your bill and write 80. And the master commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light.
Even unto today, if you get a bill and you have one of them outstanding credit card balances, those folks will call you. That balance might be 10,000, but they'll call you and look. Can we agree to maybe about 5,700? Say, you know what? Make it 47, I pay. 47 better than nothing, because they wasn't getting that 10,000. You wasn't paying it. you wasn't gonna get it. Simple as that. Now we got two happy people. Go ahead.
And on both sides, like he said, so they could receive me in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's making favors with them.
Right.
And then in turn, like you said, he didn't go to the boss. These people now go to the boss and put in a good word and say,
Right.
you know what?
Right.
You're all right after all.
Right. See, sometimes, but you got to sit down and take an honest account of yourself. See, some folks are just too prideful.
You know, I just can't work there. You know what I'm saying? Because that work is beneath me. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm too much of a debonair individual to work in those places.
You know, back in the days, they had that program, welfare to work. I said, don't always work. Cause you catch them people, man, and they just nasty. They didn't want to be there. Whenever you got to go to a place and you just look and they just to the point where you got to say, man, you take my order, please. Hell, I know what you're supposed to say. You just gonna stand there and look at me crazy? Go ahead.
And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitation.
Right. It didn't say we're going to hang out with them and do what they do. See, don't take this out of context.
See, we're gonna make friends of the unrighteous mammon so I can get, half off ladies' night.
That's not what he's talking about. Don't get that twisted. Go ahead.
He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. If therefore you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches?
So we have to consider what ends up affecting people's decision on things is how they see you operate in the things that you're supposed to be doing. And they look and say, well, that's how you operate with that? I don't want to get into business with you if this is how you did. I watched how you did business with these other people. Go ahead.
And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon.
All right. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 2. Second Peter chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9.
But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Adonai that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction.
Bring upon themselves swift destruction. Didn't they bring upon themselves swift destruction in the wilderness when they brought in that damnable heresy? So how would it be different with us? See, our damnable heresies now just end up being a link that we text to one another. Check this video out. It done sent the damnable heresy to you. And then you turn around and pass the damnable heresy to somebody else. The sin could have stopped with you. But then you passed the sin on. Go ahead.
And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingers not, and their damnation slumbers not. For if Elohim spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly.
Listen, verse 4. For if Elohim spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Oh, they in a holding tank. So that's something that we have to consider. See, even when something comes and we have to go through something, to make atonement for what we have done, blessed are we. We don't really see it like that. We envy the people who do wrong and nothing happens unto them. What do you think he's doing? They are being reserved for punishment. They are not getting an opportunity to work off any of their deeds. Go ahead.
And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Adonai knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations.
All right, listen.
And to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished.
Reserve the unjust. So there should be an affliction somewhere that causes atonement to be available in your life. Otherwise, you are being reserved to the day of judgment. Is that what we want? Do we want to slide down Easy Street only to find out that Easy Street ends in a lake of fire? Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Second Corinthians chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 10 through 21.
Verse 1. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of Elohim, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven. If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked.
All right, where you at, brother?
2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 4.
Started at verse 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of the Mashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body.
We must all appear before the judgment seat of the Mashiach. So you're going to stand before the judgment seat. The question is, what charges are going to be brought up against you? All right? That's the question. So when we buy into that whole,
Well, you know, they done passed, now they did, they in heaven looking down upon us.
that gives the implication that they have bypassed judgment. The people who taught us that were reading the New Testament. The New Testament don't even agree with that. The New Testament don't believe in you dying and going to heaven zip time. Here it is right here. This is the New Testament. We all must appear before the judgment seat of the Mashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body. So there's going to be a judgment. The question is, what charges are you going to be brought up? That's going to be brought up against you. Now, the things that Yahweh calls affliction for, that you are able to atone for, that charge won't be brought up against you. You might start with 50 charges. But if there is affliction whereby atonement was made, your 50 charges just dropped to 40. Keep working. Your 40 charges dropped to 30. Keep working. Your 30 charges dropped to 20. What did he say to the woman at the well? He did not say that she didn't do it. He said, woman, where are your accusers? She said, I see not any. Neither do I. Go and sin no more. He didn't say she didn't do it. He knew she did it. But that charge was not able to be brought up against her. That's how important this is. It ain't about you not doing anything. Oh, you done something. You done some stuff you don't want us to know about. You done something. The key is you need to try to take care of as many of those things as possible before your court date. Here's the problem. He ain't told you when your court date is. That's the problem. See, you think your court date, it happens at the end of your life. Your court date might be tomorrow. Go ahead.
According to that he has done, whether it be good or bad.
Whether it be good or bad. Go ahead.
Knowing therefore the terror of the Adonai, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto Elohim, and I trust also are made manifest in your conscience. For we commend not ourselves again unto you, but give you occasion to glory on our behalf, that you may have somewhat to answer them which glory in appearance and not in heart. For whether we be beside ourselves, it is to Elohim, or whether we be sober, it is for your cause. For the love of the Mashiach constraineth us, because we thus judged that if one died for all, then we are all dead. And that he died for all, that they which live should not henceforth live unto themselves, but unto him which died for them and rose again. Wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh. Yet,
Brother, yes, look at that thermostat. Turn it off for me. Can you watch them candles, though? Be careful. Go ahead, brother. Where you at?
verse 16.
Okay.
Wherefore henceforth know we no man after the flesh. Yea, though we have known the Mashiach after the flesh, yet not henceforth know we know him no more. Therefore, if any man be in the Mashiach, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And all things are of Elohim, who has reconciled us to himself by Yahshua HaMashiach, and has given to us the ministry of reconciliation. To wit, that Elohim was in the Mashiach, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them, and has committed unto us the word of reconciliation.
Not attributing their trespasses unto them. So now, it's not about you not doing anything. There's not one of us that's without sin. So then you have to consider that, look at the glory of Yahweh, that he has given us an opportunity that hey, I'm going to give you some community service whereby you can work off some of this. Because otherwise, ain't none of us going to make it. But here we go, skipping the community service days. Because, those are things that we take lightly. See, when we get time, we know we got to go. All right, I got to go serve time. They tell, all right, man, we'll put you on probation. You got to serve community service. I got all dog. Then we don't show up. Mm-hmm. We don't do the community service. At the end of the day, you worse than the brother that went to jail. Now, you finna turn around afterward, get the full sentence of time, and you could have not served any time if you had just done the community service. Yahweh gives you an opportunity. Just do the community service, and I'll look past this thing. Go ahead, bro.
Now then, we are ambassadors for the Mashiach, as though Elohim did beseech you by us. We pray you in the Mashiach's stead, be you reconciled to Elohim.
Reconciled unto Elohim. Reconciliation is atonement. Go ahead.
For he that made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of Elohim in him.
All right, let's go to our Romans chapter 5. Romans chapter 5. And we're going to read verses 1 through 11.
Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with Elohim through our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of glory of Elohim. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation works patience.
That tribulation works patience. So there is a certain amount of tribulation, a certain amount of affliction that's going to bring positivity in your life. And we can't understand why Yahweh would assign us affliction. Go ahead.
And patience, experience, and experience hope.
So then it's an equation. Once you get the tribulation, it works patience. Then patience, experience. And then experience brings hope. That's an equation. But if you don't start with the tribulation, you don't get to the end. Go ahead.
And hope makes not ashamed, because the love of Elohim is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is given unto us. For when we were yet without strength, in due time the Mashiach died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But Elohim commends his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, the Mashiach died for us.
We were not worthy for anybody to die for us. We were unworthy. Go ahead.
Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to Elohim by the death of his son, much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life.
Right. So then, and as we have done in the previous classes leading up, we understand that this covering, this reconciliation, this atonement is something precious. We spend so much of our energy thinking about being passed over, just like what we read. He said, oh, I pardon. But they're not going into my land. They're going to have to atone for that. Go ahead.
And not only so, but we also joy in Elohim through our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, by whom we have now received the atonement.
Whom we have now received the atonement. And understand something. When people think about Yahshua, all they talk about is Passover. They don't even understand the atonement that Yahshua brought to us. They think that they are celebrating Yahshua by showing up on Passover, not understanding the bigger part of what he did was atonement, not Passover. You got one part of that. Atonement is the other part. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Luke chapter 17. Luke chapter 17, and we're going to read verses 11 through 19.
And it came to pass, as we went to Jerusalem, that he passed through the midst of Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered into a certain village, there met him 10 men that were lepers, which stood afar off. And they lifted up their voices and said, Yahshua, Master, have mercy on us.
Now, they stood afar off because Israel was real serious about that clean and unclean thing. Real serious. Go ahead.
And when he saw them, he said unto them, Go show yourselves unto the priests.
Now, first of all, you got to have faith to do this. Okay? He ain't touched you. He ain't laid hands on you. He didn't say no prayer over you. And then he wasn't even that close to you. He said, go show yourself unto the priest. For what? They done already seen me. Mm-hmm. I was a leper when I saw them too, and I'm a leper now. What are you talking about? Go ahead.
Does that mean when you get this far, you forget that it's the priest you go to and he passes judgment on the leper?
But see, you have to look at something. Do they recognize him as a priest? See, Yahweh does his own thing. So sometimes people have done things and don't know how it's going to be held accountable unto them. See, Yahshua is not one of those at the temple. Do you look at him as a priest? Now we understand that he is our high priest. But did they see him as a priest at that point? Go ahead.
And it came to pass that as they went, they were cleansed. And one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, and with a loud voice glorified Elohim.
Now, and it came to pass that as they went, they were cleansed. Go ahead.
And fell on his face at his feet, giving him thanks. And he was a Samaritan. And Yahshua answering said, Were there not 10 cleansed?
Now, this question shows what Yahshua expected. Hey man, you ain't the only one that was healed. It was 10 lepers. You ain't the only one that was healed. Why are you the only one here? Go ahead.
You know, this is also kind of alongside of what you're always saying about when people outside the faith ask you to pray for them. Because like you said, it was 10 of them,
Right.
right? But only one turned back and
One.
glorified Yahshua.
Right. So who's going to get that glory from the other 9? What they going to say? What are they going to say? Who gets the credit for that? That's very, and it shows you what Yahshua is expecting. Why did he even ask this question? What other 9? Where your buddies at? Go ahead.
But where are the 9? They are not found that return to give. They are not found that return to give.
Go ahead.
And he said unto him, Arise, go your way. Your faith has made you whole.
Now, here's the other question. Does their healing stay with them? He then makes the statement to the one that came back. Your faith has made you whole. What happens to the other 9? If anything, if they don't walk right, something happened, does it return? What happens to their healing? They all got it, but only one came back to say thank you. One. Sometimes we believe that we have all of this time. And as we go to the next graphic, I want to explain something about this time. This time last year, I was learning to walk again. When you get a second chance, the question is, do you operate the same way as you did in your first chance? If so, what are you spiritually saying to your Elohim that saved you? I have done more to get my house in order in this year than I have in the 10 years prior to going to the hospital. How can I show my Elohim that I am thankful if I do the same things that I did before? What are you doing to show him your thanks? Not what are you saying, but what are you doing? Show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith by my works. On this night, we get an opportunity to show him our faith by our work of obedience. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Consider how you move. It is a Sabbath. You are fasting. Be careful about repetitive things that you are accustomed to doing. If you are accustomed to working on your computer and snacking, you will open your computer and automatically reach for your snack bag. We are creatures of habit. You might want to go ahead and move your computer snacks now. Remember, this is our opportunity to have our own affliction, not wait for Yahweh to put affliction upon us. And this is when you go back to the situation of Daniel. He afflicted himself physically and spiritually, internal with the fast and outward with clothing himself in sackcloth and ashes. Then prayed to his Elohim. And it says that as soon as his prayer started, the decree had already came forth. This is an opportunity as we afflict ourselves. When you find yourself at your hungriest, pray. And don't just pray for you. Do you know of a need that your brother or your sister has? Yahweh might not hear their prayer. He might hear yours. So let us consider that and let us pray for one another as we afflict ourselves. There will be no Bible study tomorrow night. We will be meeting to break the fast together tomorrow. And I don't want to try to teach Bible study and I'm hungry. So that's how we're going to do that. So Remember your family. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.